Are we not living in an era where information is at our fingertips, where knowledge is no longer confined to the pages of heavy textbooks? Yet, our educational institutions continue to adhere to the tradition of expensive textbooks, which often become outdated within a short span of time. This practice not only puts a strain on the school's budget, but also diverts funds from other essential educational resources. So how can we address this? The solution lies in leveraging the wealth of knowledge available in the digital world and transforming it into a useful form for class. With the internet brimming with free teaching materials, we need to focus on how to effectively compile and present these resources for classroom use. This could involve creating digital textbooks that can be updated as new information becomes available, or adopting a blended learning approach that incorporates a variety of online resources. This approach will not only reduce costs, but also ensure that the content we teach is always up to date and relevant. It's time to embrace the digital era and rethink how we view educational resources. The teaching materials industry, though often overlooked, is one of the largest industries in the world. It's a behemoth that quietly shapes our educational landscape, yet seldom comes under the spotlight. This industry is not just a supplier of educational materials, but it's also a major player in policy making. It exerts considerable influence through political lobbying, swaying the content of teaching materials to align with their interests. This might seem like an abstract concept, but it has real implications for our educational system. A significant aspect of their lobbying efforts is aimed at keeping schools mandated by law to purchase their teaching materials. These laws ensure that the industry continues to thrive, even as the cost of textbooks and other teaching materials skyrockets, putting a strain on school budgets and students' wallets. This industry, both a subject and a performer of massive political lobbying, remains a hidden giant. Its influence is far-reaching and profound, shaping not just what we teach, but also how and at what cost. As we delve deeper into the digital age, it's crucial to shed light on this industry and question the status quo. As we delve deeper into the issue, we find that the content of textbooks is not just a matter of cost, but also of political bias. This bias is not a mere whisper in the wind, but a loud, clear and persistent drumbeat that shapes the narrative and influences young minds. Take, for instance, the recent public uproar over the content of textbooks in the United States. Critics argue that textbooks often gloss over the harsh realities of the country's history of racism and slavery, presenting a whitewashed version of the past. Similarly, the current treatment of LGBT and transgender issues in these books has been a subject of fierce debate. Some textbooks either ignore these topics entirely or present them in a way that is insensitive or outright discriminatory. This is not to say that discontent is limited to one side of the political spectrum. For example, conservatives too express their concerns over bias in textbooks, but with a contrasting perspective. They argue that these books overemphasize certain aspects of liberal agendas, such as climate change and race theory, at the expense of other perspectives. The political bias is even more one-sided and pro-establishment in many European countries. There, textbooks often present a nationalistic narrative that glorifies the country's past and downplays its mistakes. This bias can be subtle, such as using positive adjectives to describe one's own country and negative ones for others. Or it can be blatant, such as omitting entire chapters of history that reflect poorly on the nation. This bias extends beyond just the content. It also affects the way information is presented, with some perspectives given more prominence than others. This skewed presentation can subtly influence students' understanding of the world, molding their beliefs and attitudes in ways that align with interests of the textbook industry and its political allies. The political bias in textbooks is increasingly becoming a problem, acknowledged by the public, leading a massive uproar over the content. As we continue to shed light on this hidden giant, it's crucial that we also address this bias and work towards a more balanced, inclusive, and accurate representation of our world in our teaching materials. Lincoln High School decided to transition to free teaching materials. They set up a team of educators who were well versed in the digital landscape. This team was tasked with curating high-quality, relevant, and up-to-date educational resources from the internet. They found a wealth of free teaching materials, from online textbooks to educational videos, from interactive quizzes to virtual laboratories. So how can other schools follow suit? Firstly, it's important to have a committed team of educators who are willing to navigate the digital landscape. This team should be tasked with finding and curating free teaching materials that align with the school's curriculum. Secondly, training is key. Teachers need to be trained in using digital resources effectively. Students too need to be guided on how to learn from these resources. Thirdly, schools need to invest in the necessary technology. This doesn't mean every student needs a high-end laptop. Even basic computers or tablets can access a wealth of online resources. Lastly, schools need to be patient. This transition won't happen overnight. It will take time, effort, and a lot of trial and error. But the rewards, as Lincoln High School has shown, are well worth the effort. Despite the clear benefits of free teaching materials, the path to adoption is not without its challenges. A significant hurdle comes from the opposition, largely funded by the textbook industry, who have a vested interest in keeping schools reliant on expensive materials. These groups often present a biased view, emphasizing the potential drawbacks of free resources while downplaying their benefits. To counter this, schools need to be better informed about the true potential of free teaching materials. They need to understand that these resources can be just as effective, if not more so, than traditional textbooks. They need to see the success stories like Lincoln High School and realize that this is a viable option for them too. Moreover, advocacy groups and progressive educators play a crucial role in this process. They need to lobby for policy changes that encourage the adoption of free teaching resources. They need to provide support for schools making the transition, offering guidance and training to help them navigate this new landscape. Overcoming the opposition and encouraging the adoption of free teaching materials is indeed a challenge, but one that can be met with informed decision-making and strong advocacy. Remember, the ultimate goal here is to provide quality education to all students, regardless of their financial status. And in this digital age, free teaching materials are a significant step towards achieving that goal. With the money previously used for expensive textbooks now freed up, schools have a unique opportunity to reallocate these resources. Instead of pouring funds into outdated and often biased textbooks, schools can now invest in technology infrastructure to support digital learning, a crucial element in this era of information. High-speed internet, digital devices, and interactive learning platforms can all be made more accessible to students, enhancing their learning experience and preparing them for the digital future. Moreover, the shift to free teaching materials can also free up funds for extracurricular activities and programs that were previously underfunded. Schools can now invest more in sports, arts, and other enrichment programs, providing a more holistic education for their students. There are also organisations like Education Superhighway and Everyone On that work towards providing affordable internet access to students. Schools can use this opportunity to partner with these organisations, ensuring that all students, regardless of their financial situation, can access the digital resources they need for their education. In conclusion, the shift to free teaching materials not only reduces costs, but also opens up new possibilities for resource allocation, enhancing the overall learning experience for students. It paves the way for a more equitable and efficient education system where resources are used where they are needed most.